Hey guys, it's Jay here again from Thera Arts. I'm bringing you three more stories. Um, check the description if you'd like to find out more about buying the book that these stories come from. And also some information about my website, theraarts.com. And I hope you enjoy these. Uh, please feel free to send me an email if you guys got other ideas for stories you'd like to hear. And these stories have the intention of being healing and helpful. So, and I've got comments turned off for all of these because I just really don't have time to go through comments. But look forward to your emails about them and your ideas and suggestions. The first story that I have today is called The Ugly Boy. Once upon a time there lived a boy who seemed very, very ugly. His ears were large and very weird, and he had a huge nose full of bumps, and his teeth were dark and broken off. His body was huge and
My
misshapen.
teeth are
It
fine.
was,
Huh?
all in all, a terrible sight to behold. Life was very difficult for this ugly boy because people made fun of him. They bullied him and they called him names, and they stared and made fun of him. No one wanted to be his friend, and he felt unable to compete with another person his age in any way. As a result of feeling so ugly, he did very poorly in school. He very much hated to go to school because this was where people made the most fun of him and bullied him. His parents were also ashamed
It's
of him and
true,
told
it's
him
true. I
again and
don't like
again just how
school.
ugly and
Huh?
embarrassing he was to them. Finally, he could take no more, and so he decided to run away deep into the forest where no one would ever have to look at him again and see his ugliness. Packing all of his belongings necessary for his journey, the ugly boy left a note for his parents and stole away into the night. Deeper and deeper he walked into the forest until he found himself next to a beautiful stream of water surrounded by soft moss. He was very weary from his trip, so he curled up on the moss and fell into a deep sleep. During his sleep, the boy began to dream. In this dream, a very special wise woman came to talk to him. The woman touched his shoulder and talked to him in a voice that was so quiet it sounded like the murmur of a brook. The more the boy listened to the wise woman and let her gentle voice guide him, the calmer and more still he himself became. After they had talked for some time about his ugliness, the wise woman touched the eyes of the boy and removed two very cloudy contact lenses. The boy, not realizing that they were in his eyes, was very surprised. How much better he felt now. Why? He hadn't noticed before how much his eyes had been irritating him. And yes, as he looked around, things were different. Colors were brighter, things were lighter. Then the woman touched his ears, gently pulling out two nasty earplugs. The boy was amazed. How could they have been there? The woman began to speak again, and now the boy could hear the gentle voice clearly. "There are many things which you have not understood," said the wise woman to the boy, "but now you are ready to see and hear things in a new way. In the coming days and nights, people and situations will look different, sound different to you. You will understand which people are truly nurturing, which people are rejecting, which people are filled with anger and rage, and which people are filled with love. You will understand when someone victimizes you or tries to make you less than you are, and you will stay away from those kinds of people. This knowledge will give you new insight into people, and you will use this insight to surround yourself with people who nurture you, because at last you believe that you deserve to be loved." Then she kissed the boy on the forehead, a special blessing of love. The boy felt a melting of love travel all through his body into his heart and soul, and when the boy awoke, he felt immediately that something important and different had happened to him. He knew that the dream had been a very special one. He went to the stream to wash himself, and looking down saw the face of someone who was quite handsome. Because of the wise visitor in the dream, the boy understood immediately that the handsome face was his own reflection. He realized that his ugliness had only been an illusion, that someone in the world had been sending him bad signals, distorting the way he saw himself, causing him to believe himself ugly. Walking out of the woods and heading home, the boy saw the world in a way which was new to him. How curious, such contrasting flowers growing along the path, and the birds, how clear were the songs that they sang. Even the sun had a special soft glow. When he arrived at his home, his parents did not greet him. They had hardly noticed that he was gone. As he sat with his family that night, he saw them in a new way too. In fact, they seemed to be in a strange sleep, one in which they walked and talked but could not see and hear. And then he understood at last. His ugliness was part of their dream. It wasn't a reflection of him at all. When he returned to school, he found that he saw the school and the students in a new way. He was able to recognize the people who could be his friends, and he found that knowing his own strengths allowed him to see the strengths in others. Best of all, he saw the world in a new light. He found the true meaning of love, both for himself and for others. And with his new way of understanding, he found that as each day passed, his heart and his life were filled with more and more joy. This next story that I'm going to share is called The Burned Tree. Once there was a tree in the forest that didn't look green and alive like the other trees. It looked as if it had been struck by lightning and had stopped growing, like someone had come and cut its branches back to stubs. Most of the trees in that part of the forest thought that it was dead, because some trees were able to stand long after life had gone out of them. But they were wrong, because deep down inside this tree was alive. It just didn't know how to grow and develop into a beautiful tree with leaves, as the other trees had done, because it had been hit by lightning and badly burned. Sometimes after being burned, a tree goes into shock and gives up the will to grow and to live and to be like other trees. And sometimes this shock of the lightning and the storm makes a tree even believe at its core that it can't grow and that it has to stay the same, looking burned and ugly and dead. One day a beaver came along, and thinking that this tree was dead, began to chew on it. "Hey, ow!" yelled the tree. Startled, the beaver looked around and yelled, "Who's there? Who's talking to me?" "It's me," said the tree. "You're hurting me. Quit biting me." "I can't believe it," said the beaver. "You didn't look alive. You looked deader than a doornail. You looked burned and pitiful. Why, your branches are so broken and you don't even have any leaves. Now, I'm a pretty responsible beaver, and I don't cut down live trees because I'd feel pretty bad about that. I just figured you were dead." "I'm not dead," said the tree. "I'm not even sick." The beaver gave him a puzzled look. "Well, if you're not dead and you're not sick, why do you look so awful?" Sadly, the little tree replied, "I don't know how to grow. I don't know how to get leaves. I don't know how to look alive again because the lightning has hit me so many times and there's been so many storms in my life that I've lost the knowledge about how to grow." The beaver, who had much experience with trees, decided he could help and explained that he first had to remove the burned ends of the limbs. Climbing in and out of the branches, he chewed away at the burned ends until all the dead parts were gone and new life could start growing there. The tree was surprised that it hardly hurt at all. Next, the beaver found some special fertilizer for trees and put it around the trunk. He made sure that the tree got all the sunshine and water it needed, and in a very short time, the little tree discovered that it did know how to grow. It did know how to develop. It did know how to look beautiful and full of green leaves, just like all the other trees. It began to sprout those new leaves and to grow and to develop, and before long there was no sign that it had ever even been hit by lightning or burned. The tree and the beaver became very close friends after that. Because the beaver had helped the tree grow to be so beautiful and healthy, the tree decided to do something special for the beaver. It asked the beaver to carve a sign about their friendship. The extra special sign was placed in front of the tree so that everyone who passed would realize just how much difference a trusted friend can make in the way that your life goes. Okay, I have one more. This one is called, just a second. This one is called The Coloring Book. Once there was a little girl who really loved to color. She used all the crayons in her school box, especially the reds and the oranges and the greens and the blues. She really loved the brightest of the colors. But she had great problems in coloring because she could never stay in the lines. She colored and colored and colored, and they were all over the page. Her pictures didn't even really look like anything in particular because she was so busy going over the lines and not seeing the lines and pretending that the lines weren't even there. She would show her pictures to her friends and teachers and adults, and they would ask, "What is that?" The little girl would reply, "Can't you see?" And she would explain what she had drawn. But no one seemed to be able to see what she was coloring unless she actually told them. One day her teacher decided to have a talk with the little girl about her coloring. The teacher asked her to bring a coloring book for the talk. "I see that when you color, you go all over the page, and you're unable to stay in these lines," said the teacher. "What lines? I don't see any lines. Nobody ever taught me about lines," the girl said, puzzled, with the strangest look on her face. The teacher, who was very patient, showed the girl exactly what lines she was talking about. And she turned the coloring book pages to a new section where no one had colored, and she traced the lines with her fingers so that the girl could see what she meant. "Here are the lines. You need to learn to stay within them." "Gosh," said the girl, "is that why I've been having so many problems? Because I haven't been paying attention to the lines?" the girl said with tears coming up in her eyes. The teacher nodded yes, without even really saying anything. The little girl continued to look sadly at the teacher, and a tear rolled down her cheek. "Sometimes I don't feel like I have any lines on me either. I look down at my arm and I can hardly even see where it ends. It just looks like somebody has colored all over the place and mixed me up with everything around me." Said the teacher. "Maybe that's why you're having trouble coloring and staying in the lines. Why don't we start to practice, and I'll draw the lines a little darker for you so that you're able to see where they are and can stay in them. It won't be very long until when you look at your arms, you will be able to see where your arm is and where the rest of you is." "Oh, thank you very much," said the little girl, smiling at last. From that time on, the teacher helped her learn about lines, about coloring, and about how to see herself. Every day she practiced, and every day she got better and better, until one day she colored a whole picture and didn't even go out of one line. None of the lines at all. That was also the day that she found that when she looked at her arm, it looked very much like an arm. She was very proud of herself when she showed the class the pictures that she had colored, and everyone actually knew what it was. The little girl was so happy that she had learned about lines, and that she brought her teacher many rulers as thank you gifts, because after all, rulers have a lot to do with lines. And with that, thank you guys again for watching and listening to the story. Please check out theraarts.com in the description, and like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Have a great day. Thank you.